turn your maladaptive daydreaming to a competition. So I'm your host, Robin, and I've got Amanda, Lauren, and Izzy here with me today. And today's battle is going to be Star Trek, specifically Voyager. And so today competing, I've got Chris.
Hi.
And Jeffrey.
Hello.
So let's go ahead and remind everyone what our show is. So y'all have been working on your fan fiction. It's a Mary Sue fan fiction. And today we have a random trope that y'all are going to have to add into your fan fiction. You're going to get 5 minutes to add that. And then you'll come up and tell us your story, and we will judge.
Okay.
Right on.
And you're going to be judged based off of originality, overused tropes, adherence to canon, and personal life details. And so let's go ahead and see what this trope is going to be. By the way, be warned, since it is Star Trek, sex pollen is in this bowl.
If it's pulled, I'm walking out that door.
And then I'll go get her back. Forced to share a bed.
What? Forced to...
Share a bed.
At some point, your characters must be forced to share a bed. Some characters in your story. I need to.
I need 2 characters.
Does
or
not
3.
have to be the main character, but somebody must be forced to share a bed.
So, with
classic.
that, let's start your 5 minutes. All right. So let's start talking about Star Trek because this is a pretty special fandom. It's kind of the inception of what we would view modern fandom.
And a lot of tropes have come out of Star Trek. Sex pollen being a great one.
The Star Trek is the OG sex pollen.
And just most tropes that you can think of, at some point Star Trek was the first show to do it on television.
Yeah. They're also where the concept of Mary Sue came into fruition. They started out as this Lieutenant Mary Sue. She was the love interest of one of the main characters. People found her annoying because she was considered perfect or too nice or had too many skills that were necessary for the plot of the fan fiction. Because she was an idealized version of the author. So taking the fandom side consideration out of it, Star Trek has 6 shows, different time periods.
Not including the parodies, but 6.
And is that including the new alt timeline, J.J. Abrams? Yes.
No, not including the movies. That's just the television shows.
Okay, so television shows. 6 different versions. So this is specifically going to be Voyager, which is within the timeline, it's the 3rd, so it takes place after Next Generation.
No, it's 4th. It's after Deep Space Nine.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
Okay. Also, technically, it takes place after Enterprise, too.
Yeah, it's the latest one.
Okay,
The last
sorry.
one.
I don't know math. We've talked about this, Amanda. So it's got Voyager. So we're pretty heavily into the conflict with the Borg, which is the hive mind
Robot aliens.
cyborg aliens. They're technically cyborgs.
Well, I mean, they're not really cyborgs.
They're cybernetic.
Nanobots and everything else like that.
They're
Work on
cyborg.
your fan
They're gonna
fiction.
be
Okay,
cyborg.
Work on your fan fiction.
Oh, jeez.
So
Looks like they're wearing a
they're a
swim.
hive mind that basically assimilate. They kidnap, or I guess.
It's assimilate.
Yeah, they kidnap and then like they turn you into a Borg by assimilation.
And so
Yes.
the plot of Voyager is that you have Captain Janeway. They were
First
sent
female captain that we see.
She's so good.
She gets
Love
sent
her.
out on a mission, and then they go through a wormhole, and they get sent 70,000 light years away. So that's going to take them 75 years to get back.
So they're all going to be dead by then.
Yeah, and so it's the whole conflict is how do we get back? And they do things like they run into Q that jumps them forward some. They run into different alien species that help them kind of jump forward in.
It's kind of about like playing with the morality of like, do you follow the rules? At what point do you have to
Yeah.
like sacrifice the rules for your own safety? It's very good.
Do you obey Star Trek Federation rules still, even though you're so far away that
The
no one
Prime
will ever know?
Directive.
Yeah.
I know Star Trek stuff.
The tree falls in the middle of a forest and no one is around to hear it. Do you still have to obey morality?
Anyways,
That's what I ask myself.
a lot of times when
The
you
old
get into
saying.
Star Trek, their main mission is a mission of exploration, which you wouldn't believe with how many fights they get into.
Yeah, they're not supposed to do harm. They're not supposed to interfere, and
Yeah.
every episode they interfere. Oh well.
Well, then where's the conflict? What are you supposed to do all episode?
It's a shenanigans-based show. The plot is the shenanigans on the ship.
No. That gets boring. You cannot do 170 episodes of this.
Isn't that what Deep Space Nine is about?
No, there's an actual plot. I will murder you later. Going to murder you.
I live with you.
Yes, and I can murder you very easily.
All right. You're right. So let's talk about some tropes. Because, again, Star Trek is the originator of a lot of tropes. What are some tropes that you think we should be expecting to see in your fan fictions?
I think there has to be some sort of sexy alien race because everyone's on a ship all the time, and so there's always the obligatory episode where they're like basically like I'm horny is like the motivating plot of the entire like episode.
I said no sex pollen. I said no sex pollen.
You
They
can
don't always,
have
it's not always sex pollen. Sometimes it's like a
slave
mysterious
girls?
alien. Yeah, some slave girl. Sometimes it's like a mysterious, super sexy alien race that they stumble across.
impreg.
Yeah.
I expect like trapped in an elevator or trapped in corridor or something like that, being trapped in a room.
Forced to share a
Forced
bed.
to share a bed.
Forced to share a bed.
Anything you expect, Izzy?
Space.
Space.
Space. Lots of ships. I don't know, man.
Have you ever seen Star Trek?
I've seen 2 episodes of Voyager.
Good.
All right, well, we'll cut you off there. That's been our 5 minutes. Chris, I believe you are first up.
All right.
All right, so come on up here and
So listening to the rules,
wait for the graphic.
I'm waiting for the graphic. Oh, I should have waited for the graphic before. Yeah, I may have totally missed all of those rules. And I just thought it was Star Trek, which is okay, because I went with the best Star Trek series ever. Not Voyager, but the Orville. Best Star Trek ever. All right. So, nonetheless, I have an excellent story. I wrote 2 stories intertwined, so I doubled up here.
Bonus
So,
points.
First off, a little bit of history and background. We have the planet of Dulapania, where comes the ambassador Betrut of the Union, who is taken on board the Orville to go out and talk to the Krill and try and produce peace, some sort of peace accord in some form or fashion. While this is going on and they're traveling through space, Isaac, the android, for those who may have totally missed the Orville, is studying how to become more human and learning more about humans, and decides to take up cooking, even though it doesn't matter, he's an android. And so he goes into the simulator looking for a cooking simulation, and coming across Captain Mercer's simulation, starts to learn from the Swedish chef. Now, anyone who knows the Swedish chef knows this is going to end up badly. They attempt to make a souffle, which blows up in the face of the both of them. Some of the souffle actually making its way into and throwing off some of the circuitry in Isaac, who now can only speak in Swedish chef. So as they head towards the Krill, hurdy-gurdy and borking through the universe. Obviously, this is a problem that only Betrut can solve, because not only is he an ambassador, he is an avid fan of the Muppets. And he is a chef. So in order to fix this, he takes Isaac back to the simulator in order to reproduce the problems that they had and actually produce a better souffle, because he happens to have, from the land of Dulapania, the special ingredients of Kiln and Rolouf. Oh my God. Together, they formulate the perfect dough, the perfect souffle, and then cook it overnight, laying in bed for some random reason. We're not really sure why. That's just how things cook on Dulapania. As it turns out, the souffle is a success. It's such a success that Isaac can now speak in normal terms. The Krill enjoy the souffle. Peace is had by all, and everybody once a year comes together and has a Dulapania souffle. Two stories in one.
I love it.
Did you get the underlying story?
Yeah.
The whole separate thing? No. Where all of my words are anagrams. The planet of Dulipania is an anagram for Pauladine, who sent butter out, whose destiny was to take milk
Pauladine.
and flour and turn it into a souffle to bring peace to the universe.
I was like, is it a play on Dua Lipa?
How about it, chef?
Can't argue with that.
Good luck.
Do you want me to go up now?
Go on up.
Okay.
What?
What exactly just happened? Okay, just tell me when they go then.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, so since it's Star Trek Voyager and everything else like that, I'm a huge Voyager fan. Go Captain Janeway. So mine actually takes place at the very end of the whole entire series. So if anyone's out there who hasn't read it or anything, I'm sorry, or watched it or anything, is going to be slight spoilers. Okay, so this actually, it's taking a place where it's supposed to be Endgame Part 2, not Part 1, because Part 1's happening, Part 2 is where Janeway basically decides to come back out, back in time, use the temporal universe and everything. So instead of it being called Endgame Part 2, it'll be Endgame Part 2, Matriarch Janeway. So, the whole entire series starts like this. It's the whole entire crew of Voyager, they're on the Delta Quadrant and everything else like that. And when they're in this quadrant, they actually, it opens up the scene with Chakotay and 7 of 9 in bed. And completely, they did something. Well, it was a party the night before, so they actually got really intoxicated. They wake up, and it just turns out, well, this is the start of their romance, even though it might be the last episode. So they wake up, and they go to red alert because some kind of temporal anomaly is happening out in the distance. And so what happens is that they go ahead, and they come back out, and they're getting all dressed and everything, and they're going up to the bridge, and like, what's happening? Report, such like that. And Janeway's like, what's going on? We're not sure. What took you guys so long? We had some trouble in engineering or something, astrophysics lab. So they go ahead and do that and everything. So there's their bedroom scene right there. So anyways, so the old Janeway, the older version of Janeway, she gets back in time. She goes back and she explains herself, what she's doing. She explains that she has a virus to go ahead and destroy the Borg Queen and everything. So you fast forward a little bit. They get through and such. They have the armor plating and the weapons, and they destroy Borg cubes, and Borg cubes kind of go off and such like that. And this whole entire time, you got like 7 of 9 and Chakotay keep like eyeballing each other because they want to be back in that bed scene and such like that. And the old Janeway is like, I knew it, and the new, everything else like that. So anyways, they get to the Borg, and this, Borg Queen and such, they're about to go ahead and release the virus. The ship is about to go through the slipstream, and they're going to go ahead and get out to the Federation and get out of here. But the Borg is starting to adapt, and so everything's happening. Ships are blowing up and such like that. But, however, the old Janeway, the one with the white hair who comes back from time, she's in her ship, like right next to where the Borg Queen literally is. Okay, so she's like, blah blah blah, you foolish woman, you think I don't know where you are? And she supports him back, and they're talking, and she's like, what do you think you're gonna do? And she's like, boom, and she goes ahead, and the little 2 prongs come out, and start turning Janeway into a Borg. Well, it's a virus that's supposed to go ahead and kill all the Borg, even the Borg Queen. She sacrificed her own life to save her crew from another 17 years of cruelty, losing her crewmanship and everything else like that. Instead, the virus had something wrong with it. The virus, and this is where 7 and 9 realizes what's happening with the virus. And 7 and 9 tries to stop her, but it doesn't stop. But the ship goes through, communication gets lost. The virus, instead of killing all the Borg and the Borg Queen, Janeway becomes part of the Borg. But because of the virus, it makes her more powerful than what she's supposed to be, and it actually makes her the Borg Queen herself and takes over. She has all the Borg go ahead and capture the Borg Queen, detach her torso and everything else like that, let the body fall limb. Instead, Janeway decides to go ahead and put the Borg Queen in a little prison cell, punishing her and letting her watch what Janeway does. She lets the Federation ship go, but they blow up. They fail on blowing up the whole entire slipstream portal and everything to get to the Federation space and everything else like that. So that whole part with the one Borg little spear and such, the ship gets sucked into, blows up, that happens. But they go back, and Janeway is now the Borg Queen and looks at the old Borg Queen. I'm going to show you what being Borg is all really about. And it kind of ends right there. And so everyone's, celebrating and stuff. And so then at the end, near the end, we kind of wake up, it's like saying 10, 20 years later, and no one has heard from the Borg. The Romulans, the Klingons, and the Federation are all now at peace and such like that because they think they destroyed the Borg because no one's seen them. Well, Chakotay and 7 and 9 wake up in bed and so forth like that, and Chakotay is admiral of the whole entire fleet of Federation, and then they hear reports about the Klingons and the Romulans being attacked, and they don't know what's an unknown source. Next thing you know, we have a Borg cubes that just warp right into around Federation, the Earth and everything, and next thing you know, Janeway is right there. Chakotay, it's good to see you again. And so the Federation now has to find a way to go save the old Borg Queen, because this is the only way to actually defeat the actual Borg and Janeway, the Borg Queen. And since that happens, Endgame kind of ends there and then it leaves a good source for movies to come out on how they actually save the old Borg Queen and stop the new Borg Queen, Janeway.
That's time.
There we go. That was 2 scenes of bedtime, just saying.
They weren't forced.
Unlike microwave and oven stuff going on.
All right, thank you so much for those awesome fan fictions. All right, let's go ahead and get to this judging. Amanda.
I will admit, I've only seen like 1 episode of Orville. That's all
That's
the
fine.
exposure I've ever
That's
had
fine.
of this.
Missing out.
But I will say I like the Swedish Chef crossover. I think Lauren almost died over here when you said that.
It's fun.
I very much like the very good use of the trope of you just magically having everything you need and everything's just magically there. That's very like Mary Sue-esque.
And very common within Star Trek.
That is also very true.
All right, Lauren.
I don't think you meant to do this, but the reasoning behind you're forced to share a bed was very true to form, and that it kind of didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And if you think about it too long, you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? But like, that's what forced to share a bed is all about.
Izzy?
And I like the whole, like, an android is, like, trying to learn about humans, and that leads to shenanigans. That's always a good trope.
Shenanigans are my favorite. All right, Amanda, let's go ahead and move on to Jeffrey's fanfiction.
I like how yours had make them have to go time travel again to go fix everything and have like, well, nope, this was bad. Let's try to figure out how to do time travel. That's very Star Trek-esque again. Having me like, no, we gotta go fix things.
All right, Lauren.
I loved, the like convoluted time travel is very fun. I liked your like random like science nonsense that it just happened to do the thing that would be very convenient to the plot with your virus. It was very fun. I liked it.
And Izzy?
Yeah, I like the whole, like, the Mary Sue sacrifices herself, but then it, like, turns her into more of a badass than ever. That kind of thing. Very good.
Sweet.
All right. Why don't you take a few moments and decide on who you are going to vote for to win? And let's get up front.
Oh, okay.
You two.
All right.
Someone on this side. All right, have you all made your decisions? Okay. Okay. And the winner is Jeffrey!
Yay! Awesome job.
So, congratulations. You are the Star Trek Mary Sue champion. The belt isn't actually here right now. It is in the shop.
That's all right. I
It's all
get
right.
bragging rights, so I'm happy.
You get bragging rights.
Go Voyager!
You can have it next week.
All right, perfect.
So, thank you so much for joining us for this Mary Sue game. Next, you will see these two guys again for Kombat Kreations, so you better run along.
Because who hasn't had enough of us?
Yeah. Oh wait, we have to get back to our show.
Sorry.
See ya.
Sorry. And of course, after that, you have the Red Web. So thank you so much for joining us.
That's good.